Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.
Jesse Jackson carried Louisiana in last spring's presidential primary, but can he deliver the Rainbow Coalition for Democrats in November? In our one-to-one segment, Genevieve Stewart talks to Dr. Jewel Prestige, the first black woman in the country to earn a PhD in political science. And then we'll take you to Plaisance, Louisiana for something described as a foot-stomping good time. I'm Rob Hinton, and we'll have those stories today on Folks.
Everybody says folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. Folks who live, folks got to give, folks got to care, folks got to share. Our world is small, so very small. What touches one of us, who touches us all? To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody's just folks, everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody's just folks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the season premiere of Folks. We are now entering our fourth year, and it promises to be a very outstanding one. Up front today, we'll be taking a look at Jesse Jackson's bid for the Democratic presidential nomination. Now, his campaign did not go without controversy, but one thing is for sure. Jackson's candidacy added some life to what some critics say would have otherwise been a dull race for the Democratic nomination.
My fellow Americans, it is my honor to introduce an historical and moral imperative, an American in the most profound sense. America's future, the next president of the United States of America, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson.
Tuesday night, July 17th, 1984, the Democratic National Convention in San Francisco, and Jesse Jackson's long-awaited hour of glory. He captured 85% of the nation's black vote and won 5 Democratic presidential primaries, including Louisiana. But when the roll call was taken at the convention, he finished with only 465 votes, far short of the number needed to make him the Democratic nominee. But did Jackson really hope to be the Democrats' presidential contender? The coordinator of his Louisiana campaign says no.
Reverend Jackson had a different mission. He knew under the rules he was not going to get the nomination, but that he wanted to surface some critical issues. I think he did, and bring those parties into the Democratic Party and represent them well, namely the Rainbow Coalition, who had been left out in the past. And I think he proved both of those points at the Democratic National Convention in San Francisco.
The road to San Francisco was not an easy one. It took Jackson 8 long months, but he outlasted 5 other Democratic rivals. The preacher, civil rights activist turned politician said the campaign taught him a lot.
This campaign has taught me much. That leaders must be tough enough to fight, tender enough to cry, human enough to make mistakes, humble enough to admit them, strong enough to absorb the pain, and resilient enough to bounce back and keep on moving.
But what impact did Jackson's candidacy have?
Obviously, it's the first time in history that a black ran a major campaign nationwide. By that I mean raised the funds, even though he had little funds and wanted a shoestring campaign. Made all the major stops and got major press coverage and credibility at the convention. It was Jesse Jackson who first said that a female or a black or other persons who had not had the opportunity to be nominated as vice presidential candidates should have that opportunity. I think Jesse's actions and the support of the Rainbow was a direct effect of Ferrara getting that nomination. I don't think it would have happened in any other circumstances. I think the fact that they had more blacks represented at the Democratic Convention than ever before is indication of the impact of Jesse's campaign. I think that because of some of the issues that were raised, critical issues, peace issues, fairness issues, unemployment issues, those issues that very candidly are not popular to raise at all times, were raised very clearly as a result of Jesse's campaign. And I can go on and on. I guess I can best sum it up by saying Jesse Jackson provided an opportunity for blacks and other minorities to participate in the Democratic Party from A to Z, from top to bottom. And I think has had a tremendous impact even on the Republican Party and politics, not nationally, but internationally.
Jackson has always been an outspoken critic of Reagan administration policies. Here's what he said in an interview for Folks in early 1983.
So many of those who voted for Mr. Reagan now find themselves busting pavement in unemployment lines. They voted for Reaganism. They went for the spirit. They went for the macho. They did not understand Reaganomics to be as pro-rich and as anti-labor as it is. It is no accident that the wealthy on Wall Street are going out of the roof, breaking records, and the poor are back in the basement again, busting pavement in soup lines. It's by design. Reagan's program, his course is working. That course of using unemployment to fight inflation with, or using the poor to be a buffer for the rich with. That's his basic program. It must be challenged, it must be stopped. The nation sent a small message when it retired 26 Reaganites in the last session. It will make a bigger statement when it retires Reagan next election.
And at the Democratic National Convention in San Francisco.
Mr. Reagan is trying to substitute flags and prayer clause for food and clothing and education, health care and housing. Mr. Reagan will ask us to pray, and I believe in prayer. I've come this way by the power of prayer, but then we must watch false prophecy. He cuts indigent assistance to the poor, cut breakfast programs from children, cut lunch programs from children, cut job training from children, and then say to an empty table, let us pray. Apparently, he is not familiar with the structure of a prayer. You thank the Lord for the food that you're about to receive, not the food that just left.
Jackson called his constituency the Rainbow Coalition, but the coalition failed to attract much white support. Now that the campaign is over, Jackson says he plans to continue and expand the rainbow, focusing on the South.
I've changed my legal residence to South Carolina because I'm convinced there must be a new focus on Southern politics as we move from racial battleground to economic common ground. Blacks and whites across the South must now move to a new level of economic unity. We are far more in common than we do in conflict. It's time for a new agenda. That was the public accommodations agenda. That's behind us now. The voting rights agenda as a right, that's behind us now. Open housing as a right, that's behind us now. Economic unity is the agenda of this day. We can no longer stand idly by, black or white, allow plants to close on workers without notice, and take our jobs to South Africa, Taiwan, and Korea. There must be a new economic agenda. The South cannot be a toxic waste dump. There must be a new economic agenda. People must get paid for the work that they do. There must be a new economic agenda. The most overproductive agricultural system in the history of the world Should I have people humiliated in cheese and butter lines once every 4 months? There must be a new economic agenda. Our time has come. Our time has come. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. Our time has come. Our faith, hopes, and dreams will prevail. Our time has come. Weeping has endured for a night, but now joy cometh in the morning. Our time has come. No grave can hold our body down. Our time has come. No lie can live forever. Our time has come. We must leave racial battleground and come to economic common ground and moral higher ground. America, our time has come. We've come from disgrace to amazing grace. Our time has come. Give me your tired, give me your poor, your huddled masses who yearn to breathe free, and come November, there will be a change because our time has come. Thank you and God bless you.
The question now is, can Jackson deliver his Rainbow Coalition for Democrats in November? Well, Walter Mondale and other Democratic bigwigs hope so, but the answer won't really be known until all the votes are cast and tallied. This year on Folks, we'll be featuring a segment called One to One. Now, in this segment, we'll be focusing on individuals who are helping to bring minorities into the mainstream. Here with our first one-to-one report is my associate, Genevieve Stewart.
Rob, today on One to One, our segment features Dr. Jewel Prestige. She is the first black woman in this country to earn a doctoral degree in political science. She received her doctorate at the tender age of 22. In numerous capacities, Prestige has assisted local, state, and federal governments, including chairing a presidential commission on education. Prestige is now the dean of Southern's new School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs. She has accomplished impressive credentials, and she plans to do a lot more.
One thing that I'd like to do is to do a book on the black woman in American politics. And I'd like also to do a study of the development of political science as an academic discipline in predominantly black colleges and universities. In each of those cases, I have done preliminary work in the form of articles and lectures. But I'd like to do a full-length book on each of those subjects, and maybe we'll get around to doing that at some time.
In addition to her academic duties, Dean Prestige is currently serving on a national panel studying black voting patterns during presidential elections.
One thing that is in the making is the first national study of black political behavior in presidential elections in the United States. This will be the first time that an in-depth study will be conducted of the political behavior, mostly voting behavior of blacks in a presidential election that will parallel the depth and breadth that go into the study of white political behavior, and which have gone into the study of white political behavior for several decades now. But the study of black political behavior this time in the 1984 presidential election should give us the kind of information that we've been able to garner about the non-black electorate, but not the black electorate.
Dean Prestige is listed in Who's Who in America and the world's Who's Who of women. She is an author, a consultant, and oftentimes a keynote speaker. She shared with us some of her views on politics.
Louisiana's black politicians have described the current political atmosphere in the state as just now coming into its own. Would you agree or would you disagree?
I certainly would agree with that. We have had several stages in the politicalization of the black community in Louisiana. starting, of course, with the passage of the Voting Rights Act and the increase in voter registration on the part of blacks. Following this, we had the election of blacks to public office in larger numbers. As you know, Louisiana has the largest percentage of state offices held by blacks in the United States. And over the last 4 or 5 years, Louisiana has either been first or second in this regard. Then we have the formation of political organizations to mobilize the vote. I think the really difficult problem now is how to translate these gains in voter registration and office holding into public policy output that's beneficial to the black community. How do you make these activities that we engage in, voting and office holding, really pay off in terms of meaningful change? And as we look at that particular phase of the political process, it is not only the phase that holds most of the questions for the future in Louisiana, but nationally. You know, so we are registering and voting in larger numbers, and we are holding office in larger numbers.
Louisiana's black politicians have been criticized for not having formulated long-range goals and plans, but Dean Prestige defends the politicians' position.
The political arena is not as rational and as responsive to rational planning and development as we might like. And the black political community is not a monolith. It is a pluralistic kind of element. And it's not surprising to me that not everyone is marching to the same music. And I do think that that's the healthy part about it, because out of the conflict and bargaining, you move to various levels of understanding of what the interests of the black community might be. I am very encouraged by the activities of the Legislative Black Caucus in Louisiana, by the Congressional Black Caucus, and by scholars who are studying black political behavior in Louisiana and nationally. And I think that out of this, we may come to some understanding of what the present level of development is. But that understanding will last only for the moment at which it's revealed, because one of the great things about studying politics and Louisiana politics is that you really never know where you're going.
Prestige recently received the highest award granted by her colleagues in the American Political Science Association. Her star is still on the rise.
If you like to drink a little beer and cut a step or two, you'll probably enjoy our next story. It was definitely a foot-stomping good time for me, resulting from some good old foot-stomping music. Foot-stomping music indeed, and it all took place on this farm in Plaisance, Louisiana, the setting of the second annual Southwest Louisiana Zydeco Festival. Now, Zydeco is not your traditional Cajun music, nor is it rhythm and blues. Zydeco is, well, let's get Nick Spitzer of the Louisiana Folklife Program to tell us.
Well, Zydeco is a mixture of traditional Cajun music, the French music from Acadia and originally from France, mingled with the West Indian, Afro-Caribbean rhythms that came in with some of the West Indian slaves and Creoles of color, and then Afro-American black blues from the U.S., all put together in a melange, then you end up with the sound called Zydeco.
But the word Zydeco has a different meaning.
Zydeco means beans. We have our shirts, if you notice, are made from string beads.
So what's the connection between a snap bean and this form of music?
There's an old expression in Creole culture saying les Zydeco sont pas salés, and what that means is that there isn't even enough salt to flavor the beans. It means times are tough. You hadn't even got a little salt meat to throw in your beans. So someone might say to you in the old days, hey, tu vas faire Zydeco, meaning you're going to make your beans this year? And you'd say, ouais, Zydeco, mes Zydeco sont pas salés, meaning I'm going to make the beans, but I hadn't got salt to put in them. So I'm making it, but barely. And so Zydeco is kind of like a French blues, you could say, in that mood, the way it is expressed.
The king of Zydeco is none other than Clifton Chenier of Lafayette. Born in Opelousas, Chenier's musical style is well known throughout the state and abroad. He has won numerous awards, including a Grammy and the 1984 National Heritage Fellowship Award. On this particular day, festival officials presented him with another award. Although he was very appreciative, Chenier said that the recognition was late in coming.
I've been born and raised in Opelousas. And nobody ever did nothing for me in Opelousas. I had to go away from here and make a name for myself. And suppose this, I appreciate that, but I've been having this so long. I got this, but I first got this. You know what it was? In Paris. In Paris, where it should have been right here. See? Now, I got this in Houston. Got this in Lake Charles. I got this everywhere but here. I'm just getting it now. You know why? Because I had to show them what French music can do with a Grammy. See? That's all I want to say. The next one coming up in your hometown, pull for him.
One of the biggest enthusiasts of Zydeco music is disc jockey Luke Collins of radio station KVPI in Ville Platte, and he talked to us about Chenier's impact on Zydeco music.
You know, if it wouldn't be for Clifton Chenier, I don't think there would be any Zydeco today, because ever since I was about 7, 8 years old, Clifton Chenier been playing Zydeco music. But you know, them white stations, we didn't have them black stations like we got now. They would play maybe 1 or 2 of his songs, but it wasn't what you call popular like they got now. And you can give Clifton Chenier what you call real credit for Zydeco music, because he's the one started Zydeco music.
foot-stomping good time indeed. Next week on Folks, I'll have a report on the Black Congress on health law and economics, and Genevieve will be talking chicken with State Representative Joe Delpit. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
We're going to do a little number we got called Comme Si Comme Ça. Comme ça, cher, ça c'est mon pays et mon moment à brailler, brailler pour moi, elle a dit, mon petit garçon, toi t'es pas bon, cher, toi t'es pas bon, et mon chigon à gros Texas, à motiver, comme si comme ça. Tous ces mots, n'oubliez pas, n'oubliez pas, mon idée à marier, ça c'est pas bon, et mon moment à brailler pour mon cher, tous les jours, tous les soirs, et mon chiton à gros Texas. À motiver, comme si comme ça.
Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.